The first debate, we have 5 candidates running for 4 seats on the school board, with Richard Tevilder and Jess Wayne announcing his retirement this year. 3 incumbents, Laurie Lieberman, Alicia Mignano, and Stacy Rouse, along with 2 challengers, Harry Leshner and Robbie Staenberg. Let's welcome all of them to the stage tonight. Wherever you want. The seats are not by poll order, so.
It's not like the picture, we have to mirror the picture.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah. Can you see it? 10 seconds. Okay, so we'll start with opening statements. I have random.org with your names in there, and it will randomize each question separately. It will be a different order. So we'll start here, and the first opening statement goes to Stacy.
Hey. Hi, my name is Stacy Rouse. I am a current SMM USD board member. I am also a grateful recipient of this club's endorsement in 2022. I'm seeking re-election, and I'm humbly seeking endorsement again this year. I'm a Malibu resident, and my 2 adult children were in the Malibu Pathway schools their entire school career. I believe the things that I set out as goals 4 years ago, I have worked diligently to do, and I am not done yet and hope to serve for another 4 years. I'm happy to talk more about what those 4 things are now or in the future, but I would like to say that one of the key things is being a bridge from Malibu to Santa Monica and from Santa Monica to Malibu. I believe this helps our communities be more connected, not divided, and we all know representation matters, and this is an area that I think is important. So I look forward to continuing, hopefully to serve, and it's been my privilege to serve these last 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Alicia.
Oh, great. Okay. Good evening, Democrats. I'm Alicia Mignano, the president of the Santa Monica Malibu School Board. I was elected in 2022 along with Stacy and with this club's endorsement, and I am honored to be back asking for your support for re-election. I'm a renter. I live in the Pico neighborhood with my husband and my son, Jimmy, who is about to start 6th grade in August. I'm an immigrant, a product of our public schools, and a public school parent, and I know how transformative strong public education can be, and that is why I serve. Over the last 4 years, I've worked to put students first, protect vital student services during difficult budget decisions, and advocate for multilingual learners and our most vulnerable students. While I am proud of the work we've accomplished, there is still important work ahead of us to keep our schools strong. I would be honored to earn your endorsement and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Laurie next. And there's another microphone by your feet if you need. Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. She turned it back on.
Already on. Sorry. I have served on the school board for 15 plus years with this club's endorsement every time I've run. And the natural question, obviously, is why would I want to do this again? No, I mean that seriously, though. As those who have endorsed me can attest, I've consistently relied on my skills, experience, and values to play a leadership role promoting policies that will ensure equity and excellence for all students in our schools and ensuring that all students feel welcome and receive the highest quality education we can provide, regardless of where they live or how much money or education their families have. There are 2 board members who you see who have served 1 term or running again, 2 brand new candidates, and a board member who's left, who's not running again this year. And in 2 years, there are at least 2 more board members who will not be running. I think continuity is important. I strongly believe that the school board benefits from having a mix of experience, knowledge, and skills on the board, and I believe I still have a lot to offer. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Harry next.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Harry Leshner. My wife and I have called Santa Monica home for a little over 18 years. We have 2 daughters. Our oldest just completed kindergarten at Franklin Elementary. I'm running to be a champion for families in our district. Our public schools are facing an existential threat. We've had a 25% decline in our enrollment over the last decade. To reverse this, we need a board that reflects the community that it serves. Of the 7 members today, only a single member is a current parent in the district. If elected, I would be the second, but crucially, the only member with elementary-age children. If we want to right the ship, we need board members that have firsthand experience with our schools and understand the challenges that parents face on a daily basis. Professionally, I bring over almost 20 years of experience. I bring almost 20, I think I had a few more seconds. I bring almost 20 years of experience in leading large teams and navigating complex institutional changes. I have the background to improve our struggling community engagement and repair trust in the district. I'd be honored for your endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Robbie.
Okay, yes, the second one works. My name is Robbie Staenberg. I grew up here in Santa Monica and attended our K-12 public schools. After I graduated from college, I was hired as a social studies teacher at a Title I high school in Oakland. More than 90% of my students qualified for free or reduced lunch, and I had the opportunity to see the ways our systems can fail our students, as well as the ways in which our students can succeed, even against enormous odds. After the better part of 5 years in the classroom, I had cleared my teaching credential, meaning I'm a fully credentialed teacher, and I decided, at least temporarily, to leave the classroom. I got a job working for our assembly member, the person who represents Santa Monica in the state legislature, an opportunity that has allowed me to broaden my understanding of both the state legislative and policymaking processes. I love our public schools in Santa Monica, and I believe in our ability to deliver an excellent education for all students. If elected, I will bring a new perspective to the board as the only board member who has been a K-12 teacher and the only board member who has actually attended our schools. I hope to earn your support tonight and your vote in November. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so 3 of you have served on the board while 2 of you are running for the first time. I'd like each of you to answer from your own perspective. Looking back at the board's decisions over the past 4 years, what is one significant decision that you believe should have been handled differently, and what would you have done instead? And we'll start with Robbie.
Yeah, so I've given this some thought over the last couple months as I've started discussing school board politics and policy with folks. And I think that one kind of overarching theme has emerged in those conversations. And rather than a specific policy, it's about the way those policies have sometimes been communicated, whether by district staff or perhaps by the board itself. And one thing that I would like to bring to the board is the experience from both a classroom teacher and a legislative staff member of being interested and, in fact, enjoying engaging with the community and making sure that the community understands what the district policy is, where it's coming from, and how the community input might affect that policy going forward. So I would kind of frame as around the general communication strategy of our, whether it's staff, the board, in general.
Thank you. Alicia.
Spoken like an educator. I have to say one of the things that we're so lucky in the school district to have a community that is passionate about music. Looking back, one of the areas that I think we could have, we have a new VAPA director that just came in. We had the same VAPA director for over 20 years. And when there's a change, it can be a little bit difficult. And so I think we could have engaged the community a lot earlier because our community is passionate, and I think that's one of the areas that I can think of that we could have done a little bit better. But again, having new staff, and so that's one of the things that I can think of.
Great.
Do you like me?
Thanks. Stacy next.
Oh, Stacy, okay, here you go.
Hold the mics. So there's multiple things that could be discussed here. The one that I think I'm going to choose is a couple of years ago, we had something before us regarding having a policy around, oh, and the word just went right out of my head. Oh my goodness. With our budget.
Reserve policy.
Thank you, our reserve policy. And at the time, we're a basic aid district. It's rather new for us. We're less than 10 years being permanently in that. And at the time, it's very different from being a state aid district. And a reserve policy is crucial. It is a lot of money, and it's very scary to see that much put aside. It was a thoughtful discussion, but ultimately we decided not to pass it. It has since been passed, but at that time, I felt like, again, we could have engaged differently with our partners in unions and with the community to talk about why it's important, how it would be used. It would not be used as a tool to withhold anything from anybody, but actually help us be more whole and make more sound fiscal decisions. So that reserve policy is something I wish we had done differently.
Thanks. Harry?
Yeah, first, as a new person, it's really easy to throw stones at the incumbents. And I just want to state, like, I'm deeply appreciative of everything that you guys have done for our children. When I think of the major gap that impacts our students today, something that is a huge deal is our lack of technology policy. I understand there were reasons why we got the Chromebooks during COVID. It's been years since COVID. The fact that we still lack a comprehensive and complete policy around acceptable use of technology in our classrooms, I think, is a major failure. LAUSD recently adopted their own policy. It's something that we should really act quickly on. And I don't think our children should be watching YouTube during school, on their personal devices, playing video games, messaging their friends without, the teacher knowing what they're talking about. There's a lot of harassment that happens on these devices, so we need to get this under control ASAP.
Thanks. And Laurie?
Wow. I could agree with, in many ways, everything everyone was saying, and I don't think that there's a particular policy that I think I regret, but I think if I were to, I would have chosen to focus on what Harry did, because I too believe that while I think we're doing the right thing now and in the right way, it's still going to be rocky. We have a working group that's begun that includes parents, teachers, administrators who are reviewing the issues surrounding AI, Chromebooks, all the technology that is in the classroom or could be in the classroom. There are so many issues surrounding that. And I do wish we had started this a little earlier. We addressed the cell phone issue earlier. But I also believe that we're doing this in an SMMUSD way, which is to be inclusive and hear a lot of voices and a lot of opinions. And I don't think the LAUSD proclamation is a model for the way we do things.
Thank you. And before we move on, is there anyone who wanted to take a moment to rebut anything that anybody said?
Well, I would just rebut that there is much to be desired from the LAUSD policy, but at least it's something that it would solve a lot of the direct harms that are happening to our students today. If there was an oil spill, you would stop the oil spill and then figure out ways to do the cleanup. You wouldn't just wait and study that oil spill. This working group is great. It's a great step in the right direction. It's not happening fast enough. There are problems with the transparency and how people were brought onto that. But we have things that we can adopt today and then study it long term.
Yes, I do want to speak to that and say that while there are families and students who don't have computer at home, who during COVID had to have hotspots, and I'm saying, there isn't one unified parent voice, and I think we are being responsible by engaging teachers and parents, working with our administrators to make the best decisions, because we have to think about all of the students and the families and the different needs. And so that's really what we're trying to do as a responsible school board, is to have as much information as possible to make the best decision for our school district and all of our kids.
Okay. Let's move on to the next question. The district is facing declining enrollment and a wave of proposed layoffs. If the district suddenly had to make drastic cuts and you could not protect everything, what is one area you would prioritize protecting at all costs, and one area where you'd be willing to concede meaningful reductions even if it was politically unpopular? And we'll start with Stacy.
I already went first once. All right, so we are facing declining enrollment, and while we're not directly facing a wave of layoffs, we do need to prepare for it because it could happen, and we live with that reality every day. Nothing we do is extra, even though we are a wealthy district and we are able to fund a lot more than a lot of other schools. So anything we cut is muscle, not fat. And so we take these decisions very seriously because they matter deeply. On first hearing of this, what I would not want to cut is our teacher-student ratio. I think that's extremely important to keep. I would love a world where ours was lower. So I definitely would not want to cut that. For something to cut, I think we might have to look at some of our programs where there might be overlap and see if we can pull those in. Our sports are publicly funded through other means, so that's not something from our budget. I think it would be really difficult. It would be something we would consider important. So I hope we don't get to that point.
Thank you. Let's go to Robbie next.
Well, first, I'm going to say good question. So I think when I think about what I would be kind of most opposed to cutting are TK through 12 core academic programs. So I think those are obviously the paramount responsibility of any school district, and those have to be paramount in what we're protecting. That includes, yes, our teacher-to-student ratio, but also includes the programs that we're using to close or to try to close gaps in outcomes. You know, we really can't sacrifice those. I don't think anyone will want to answer the second part of the question, but I will preface this by saying that I really appreciate and respect the work that has gone into unification so far, and I think that the current board has put a lot of great work into that and into those agreements. I think those agreements are predicated on certain financial modeling of the future. If we've faced dramatic reductions in funding, I think that was the prompt, then I would feel a little uncomfortable with allowing unification, or at least voting for unification to continue if it meant significant cuts to core academic programs, et cetera.
Thank you. Let's go to Alicia.
I'm so sorry.
It's not.
It's a good one. Yes. Yeah, that's a really tough question, but I want to protect everything in the classroom and the direct services to students. So for me, I know that the district wasn't a fiscal stabilization plan before with LACO, and a lot of cuts were made at the top administrators, and so that's the type of thing that I would look at. I would also work with the superintendent and say, hey, red alert, where can we find money, and where can we, you know, no travel, no conferences, no nothing extra. We're really focusing on the basics, and so that so those are some of the things that I think protecting the teacher, student, classroom. Yeah, those are some of my ideas. And I think, Laurie, you're probably...
Hold on, Harry's first. Okay.
So my daughter's teacher is one of the lead negotiators for the teachers union, and I've also connected with their president. And what they've told me is that in the past, whenever there's cuts, it tends to be salaries that get cut. And in this last year, there were actually some proposed cuts to reading specialists. You know, to me, the hierarchy is like protect your most vulnerable students first, protect salaries for not just the teachers, but also the service people and staff in the schools. I kind of challenge the premise of this question a little bit because I know there are different pockets of money in the way that, you know, bond measures happen versus how we fund our schools, but our school district has a $500 million bond. And we're doing construction projects all over the city, and I kind of think, it all comes out of the taxpayer's pocket. And so I think we need to protect teachers and salaries, especially those who are providing services for our most vulnerable students. If we're going to make cuts, I would sacrifice the bond money for school improvements.
Okay, thank you. And Laurie, I see you shaking your head. Why don't you give your answer first, and then we'll do
Can I
rebuttal.
respond first, or you want to give yeah, it's hard
your
to
answer
know
first.
whether to use this time to respond to some things or not. So first I want to say, to the premise of the question, our enrollment has declined everywhere, not just here, and the reasons for it are largely to do with the declining birth rate. That's well-founded and known everywhere, and then some has to do with immigration patterns and the situation with respect to immigration, and then also housing costs, I would say, here. So I think those are the real reasons. I think we believe that our enrollment has stabilized, but to take the question further, if there were some massive decline, the other thing I want to say is that it wouldn't change our funding status. We're a basic aid district, so we don't get funded based on enrollment. So it wouldn't change the amount of money we have. So there's a lot about this question that's kind of hard to get your head around. I agree with everyone who said that TK through K, core programming, teacher ratios, close to the classroom, I would not make those cuts. But if we ever got to those, I'd evaluate our programs and see which were duplicative and which didn't make sense. Can I respond to something about the salary?
The premise of the question was challenged, but I won't rebut it. We'll instead go right back to you, Laurie, and then after that.
I just want to say that since I've been on the board and since I know about the board, I don't remember salaries ever being cut anywhere. So I don't know where that comes from. So I just wanted to say that. And the other one thing I wanted to say is bond money is only able to be spent on capital projects. It's not even, we can't even spend it on maintenance. It has to be spent on capital projects. So it is what it is. That's the only thing we're legally allowed to spend it on. So it couldn't be diverted to spend on teachers or other things.
Thanks. Harry?
Yeah, that's a technicality. It all comes out of the taxpayer's pocket. But regarding the declining enrollment, there's just as many children in Santa Monica today as there were 10 years ago. So the demographic shift is not the explanation. They're overwhelmingly going to school out of the district into private school. And it's actually worse in Santa Monica than it is in nationally and even in Los Angeles. So it is a problem. And then also regarding the basic aid, we are a basic aid district because our enrollment has fallen so much, but if we actually increase that, we could be a state aid district and have even more money. So we'd have more money, more teachers, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Stacy.
I'd like to speak to the Malibu unification and cutting that. So there's guiding principles that say it is based on keeping both districts whole. There's a lot of calculations in there. If there's a big bump or a big dip that affects either community, it adjusts for that. There could be something catastrophic where that would not happen, but they have really reality tested this up and down at lots of different levels. So before we just jettisoned that because it sounded big, we'd really need to look at if it did make an impact or not, because there's probably much better ways to cut money.
Yeah, Robbie.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of agree with Stacy on that. I was speaking to the idea of this being to use your term, a catastrophic impact. But now that I know that the law is a technicality, we might find an interesting alternative.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the next question. The debate over artificial turf has divided people who otherwise agree on almost everything politically. Supporters point to drought, field shortages, and year-round athletic access. Opponents point to PFAS, microplastics, heat, injuries, and long-term environmental impacts. When those progressive values come into conflict, what principles guide your decision-making on this issue? And how do you grade the district's handling on this issue so far? We start with Alicia.
Yes, I think this has been a hot topic in our school district. I saw that PTA took on a study, and when they took a vote, it was split. So parents, have kids that play sports and want to see their kids be active. And of course, we share our schools become parks after school, and so we share that with our city. And so it's for me, I think I would be okay with continuing what we're doing now, which is the elementary schools doing grass, and the middle school and the high school, because of the use, I think we would have to do the turf. And I get that information from Dr. Jim Baird, who community members brought and introduced me to, and was able to come and do an explanation at the school board meeting. And so he's an expert in his field, and I'm getting that information, from him. And so I think I would follow experts and try to make the best decision for our kids.
Thanks. Let's go to Robbie.
Yeah, so as someone who is not, on the board during all of this discussion, I'm sure there are nuances that I'm not aware of, but I'll just speak as someone who's been following this from the outside. I think that my understanding is that we have a shortage of fields in Santa Monica. To me, the place to have turf are the places where our fields cannot survive the amount of play that they're getting. And if the question is, do we want to cut after-school sports programs or have turf, I think a lot of people would agree that that's an opportunity to use turf. Other than that, I think that grass is a better alternative. I think I put this in my question, I don't know, maybe I deleted it, but I can't think of much that's artificial that's better. I know some people like sweet and low, but besides that, I don't think that the artificial alternative is better in this case. And it's only a matter of necessity when we want to use our fields beyond just the school day.
Thank you. Let's go to Laurie next.
I think I like the way you formulated the question, because I think it is a situation where you have different values, which we all share. We all share all of them, I would say. And so it's what do you do to weight certain things? So I would say that one of the things we're doing, first of all, I would say I look to facts and data and research and not just feelings in the end to try to help me reconcile those things, because I do care about all of them. I would also say that the school district's recent actions to try the grass field as a temporary pilot at Franklin that Alicia was describing is an attempt to also try really hard to grow grass and keep it healthy and in the service of kids, and also give us some data to compare with other schools. And the other action, which we talked about, and the language will have to come back, but the school board talked about and agreed to do a moratorium on any new artificial turf fields on elementary school campuses. So my time's up. But
Thank you. Stacy?
Could you could you say again the last part of the question, or just read the whole
When
thing?
when the progressive values that are on both sides of this come into conflict, what principles guide your decision-making, and how do you grade the district's handling on the issue so far?
Okay, thank you. We have a lot of these issues where all of a sudden we realize there's passionate feelings about it. That's when we need to listen, and I think that's very important, and not just in the board meeting, although that's crucial. Also, SMMUSD is a big system, and things change on a dime and the district doesn't. So with technology, a few years ago, Chromebooks seemed like the most responsible thing, and now we're seeing there's problems with technology. Here, artificial turf seemed like the better thing to do 10 years ago, and now there's evidence saying the other. And so what we're seeing here is it's a difficult choice, and so there's safety concerns both ways. So I do think it's time to let it start with being a local issue and let the schools, what's most important to them in those places, decide, rather than having a blanket decision across the board, have policies that guide but don't restrict. And really listen to the parent voice and use. It's really important. What's it for? Be targeted and be wise.
Thanks. And finally, Aaron.
I have a statement and a rebuttal.
Okay, we'll
do a
start
rebuttal.
with the response, and then we'll do the rebuttal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This issue is probably the single issue where we have the biggest divide. So I was actually one of the authors of this Democratic Club resolution to place a ban on artificial turf that went largely ignored by the board until recently. Why is this important? The primary job of the school board is to educate our students. Why are we talking about turf? As Democrats, as much as we want to point the finger at Donald Trump for gutting the EPA, and we should, climate experts say that 75% of the Paris Climate Accords will be met by action at the state and local level. So what we do here in Santa Monica matters. The school district is one of the largest landowners in the city. What they do matters. They own a lot of land. We're covering it with plastic. Plastic is it's derived from fossil fuels. It's polluting the environment, and also it's contributing to the bottom line of companies that overwhelmingly donate to put Republicans in office. So we shouldn't be paying any public money for this. Rebuttal?
Go ahead.
Okay, so there were 2 points. One, we're engaged Dr. Baird. He's a turf scientist. He's not a medical doctor. The California Medical Association says that children, actually people, should avoid playing on artificial turf. And again, when we talk about experts and safety, we should also be engaging doctors. When it reaches over 120 degrees on the surface, it's very unsafe to play on. You say, how often does that happen? Well, plastic absorbs heat from the sun very greatly, and so maybe 100 days out of the year, the surfaces will be over 120 degrees. The board doesn't believe that that's real. They said we need to see if that's real because that sounds crazy. I'm kind of offended by the implication of that, but yeah, let's talk about listening to science and data.
Laurie, go ahead.
I think it's kind of offensive to talk about the school district and the school board as covering the land in plastic. That's clearly not what's happening, and it's clearly not why we're doing what we're doing. As Robbie, I think, tried to describe, I will say, we're trying to meet the needs of our community. And if all we had to do was serve students during the school day, we might be able to have grass everywhere, and I think we'd all prefer that. The problem is the city has not been able to come up with the facilities to support the sports and recreation needs of this community. That includes private schools who use our schools' facilities. That includes adult teams, kids' teams that go on into the night and onto the weekends. And that's the only reason we have artificial turf, which, by the way, the first artificial turf field, I think, was put in like 2003 or something. It was long before any of us were here, and my time's way over, so I'm sorry.
Well, we're going to go to Stacy first because she hasn't spoken yet on this.
Well, I have
Well,
spoken,
you haven't
but the rebut. So just briefly, Dr. Baird is his entire report is about natural turf, not about artificial turf. Point taken about the doctor, but he is completely about the turf. And I was so amazed the care that could happen. It gave me such hope for what we could do. So.
Okay, and were you going to get in the queue, or? No. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just the district report, 12 acres of field space is covered in artificial turf. It's also under a lot of the play structures and even in flower beds, so I don't think my statement was an exaggeration. Also, the playability of the fields, it's a false premise. It parrots turf industry propaganda. If you can't play on the fields 100 days of the year, then what good are they?
Okay, thanks. Alicia?
Yes, I just want to speak to I think the surfaces underneath the play areas. I think for parents, most parents, safety is the major issue. And so we tried doing a different type of surface at Grant Elementary, and we had a lot of broken arms. And so I think for parents want, first and foremost, their kids not to be breaking arms. And so we are looking at alternatives and seeing what we can do, and we're willing to work and listen to community members. I think, Harry, you know that. You know, we're trying to do what is best for our kids and our entire community here.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there. Let's go to the next question. Since the Noguera-era equity findings, the district has invested heavily in multiple strategies to close achievement gaps. In your view, what is the single most persistent structural barrier that those strategies have failed to solve? And what would you change about how the district is currently addressing it? And we will go to Robbie first.
Like I keep getting all the tough questions first. No, in terms of structural barriers, I mean, I graduated from Santa Monica High School in 2014, which was 2 years before that report was published. And those disparities were very much real in my classes. I mean, I was in AP classes that were almost entirely white and Asian, despite the diversity of high school. So the first step is acknowledging the reality of the differences and the disparity in outcomes. I think from there, one of the experiences that I had as a teacher was the massive differences in what students are doing outside of school, and thinking about what the district can do to close those gaps. You know, I mean, a summer program for one student, a summer break for one student is an enormous opportunity for enrichment, and for another student, it's the summer slide, you know, where academics fall behind. So what can we do to close those gaps? And I think there are a lot of enrichment programs that perhaps we can, that when the city is a little bit more solvent, we can ask the city to help pay for after the parcel tax, perhaps. But there are a lot of programs that I think we could use to try to address that and close that outside of school gap.
Thanks. Let's go to Harry next.
First of all, I want to say I think this is an area where the board has taken a lot of really commendable steps, and so I want to thank them for that. The reality is the achievement gap still exists, and on this, I actually do agree with Robbie quite a bit. You know, there are enrichment programs that are provided by the district, but as the CREST programs, as our teacher described it, their hotter spots in those CREST programs are hotter than Taylor Swift tickets. You got to be on your computer at 6:01 a.m. to sign up for it. So, I mean, I think we have a framework. Like, let's just expand capacity and access to that. Because what I see is two systems where if you have the means, you can send your kid to private, paid for, you know, extracurricular enrichments, and then everybody else is just kind of left fighting over whatever's left. So,
thank you. Alicia.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Since the Noguera-era equity findings, the district has invested heavily in multiple strategies to close achievement gaps. In your view, what is the single most persistent structural barrier that those strategies have failed to solve, and what would you change about how the district is currently addressing it?
I think we've done a lot of good work. I think one of the issues is that we are continuously getting new students and that are coming through, and we are trying to identify the needs as quickly as possible to meet them. And then, and so, for example, when it comes to English language learners, that's one of the areas that I think we've seen a lot of growth. We've got parents involved, and for example, just something as simple as putting on a report card the progress that the student is doing, and being able for teachers to communicate that with the students. But there's so many other things that we could do, and I think. There's so many things. Our language literacy interventionists, that's one of the things where we might disagree as board members, but I think those are key positions to protect. And being able to read by third grade, research shows is really important for outcomes for students. And so those are some other things that I think have big impact.
Thank you. Stacy?
I worked as a site manager for Jumpstart for 5 years before I was on the board, and it is an early literacy intervention program. Kids from the very beginning can come with huge word gaps in their very earliest years and coming to us at different levels. That's just one example. There's lots of ways where people come different. I think as much as possible to acknowledge where there are differences or lack or gap or whatever it is, and not have it be an insurmountable barrier. So I do think these programs are super helpful. I think attitude helps a lot. Teachers who come into a classroom and everyone comes and is seen as equal, known for who they are and different, they thrive differently in that classroom than in a classroom that it doesn't have that space. We have excellent teachers, and that is not going to fully do it. It's going to be a multi-pronged partnership between how do we teach, how do we overcome gaps, and how do we accept people where they are. I feel like we're doing a good job. It is not enough. I think we've got to really look to how to do it different. It's going to take some creativity.
Thanks. And finally, Laurie.
I mean, as the question even recognizes, we've done a lot of things and we continue to do them. And one of the things that Dr. Noguera said was you needed to have consistent leadership and coherence across the district and to continue to do these things over the long haul. So I think we're trying to do that. If there's not a magic solution to the fact that what I would call the greatest structural barrier, which is that some students have families who are able to put them in enrichment programs, to hire private tutors, to have private coaches, to take them to Europe during the summer, to do all kinds of things that not everyone in the district has a family that can provide. So to the extent that we can try to make up for some of those things that we can't do during the school day, find ways to, that's true. And that is one of the things I was going to say. One of the after-school programs that is funded by the state is the Enhanced Learning Opportunity Program, which is only money that goes towards people of low income who can afford those programs. So that's an after-school opportunity, but to the extent we can find other ways to prop up tutoring, which we were able to do with extra funding during the pandemic, to find ways to support summer enrichment. We can't force people to go to a summer school or things like that, but if we can offer engaging, exciting things at very low or zero cost, that's what I think we have to look to do. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So it seemed like there was broad agreement on that. Any rebuttals needed? Okay, we'll move to the final question before closing. Given the rapid adoption of AI tools among students, do you believe the district should primarily restrict, integrate, or actively require AI use in instruction at certain grade levels? What is one specific policy you would implement immediately to reflect that stance? We'll start with Alicia.
I think what the school district is doing now, having the working technology group, is great. I think that there is potential with AI, differentiated instruction, real-time feedback, freeing teacher time. But I think we need to be intentional and deliberate. And then any framework needs to align with our mission, our values, equity, belonging, et cetera. And for me, two things that are key are student data privacy protections, equity focus, and whatever we do, teacher professional development. Needs to be part of it.
Thank you. Robbie.
Yeah, I think in his questionnaire, I think Harry made a good point about AI, which is that, we can't think that we're not using AI when we're doing all sorts of different programs. So I would separate this a little bit to say using a large language model like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude in the classroom. I don't really see the application there. But using AI-enhanced classroom programs, that can be really transformative. So for example, if you are in a math class and you miss a day or miss a week of instruction, you never learned how to do long division, and then you're moving forward and the rest of the class is moving forward and there's no chance to catch up. But with AI-empowered, say, math programs that you're doing on the computer at home, you're able to, the program is able to identify the hole in your knowledge, give you customized problems until you're ready to move forward beyond that. So there's an enormous promise there. There's an enormous opportunity on an educational level. But that has to be paired with restrictions on, the mass use of, say, just large language models where I'm asking, I wouldn't do this, but asking ChatGPT to write my, AP essay, right? And then ChatGPT is going to write an unfortunately good essay. And from friends of mine who are still in the classroom, it is becoming increasingly difficult to tell when AI is writing that paper. So that obviously has no place, and we're going to see a return to blue books and things like that. And in-class, if you don't know what a blue book is, in-class essays. But I think that's the policy, and it has to have a pretty strong degree of nuance when we're looking at the different applications of AI.
Thank you. Laurie.
I don't think I can say it better than that, but I'll try my way of saying it, which is that I think you said, would we restrict, integrate, or actively, what was
Require.
Require. I can't imagine actively requiring, and I think it's going to be a nuanced question about when we restrict it, when it gets integrated, who's using it, teachers or students. I do think, again, and as with a lot of educational technology, certainly it's not appropriate in the early grades. So I think the question is really about later grades and what grade levels and who and when and how. And I will say that as part of the first technology working group session, I spent some time talking to a middle school teacher who just tried an experiment this year that I'm not going to be able to cover in 10 seconds, but he basically said, we're not using computers, we're not using anything in this class. We're going to handwrite, we're going to talk to each other, we're not going to use anything. And he had an incredible experience with that, and it really moved me in terms of part of the conversation we need to continue having.
Thank you. Stacy?
So I think there probably are elements of all three, of where we restrict, where we integrate, and where we require. But I think we need to be very careful and look at it. In terms of like large language models, you don't want to use it to bypass critical thinking skills, but learning prompts and how to help it be additive and how to have it be a group activity with people, I think is an important thing to learn. I think we have to be really careful with data privacy. I think we have to be very careful with real life and relationships, that it doesn't secede that. And the schools have a history of, we are strapped on cash. If we're able to get things cheaply, we take it. That can have a grave cost. We can sell out things trying to get technology we know could help our student. I think we need to be very careful what we contract for and why and how it's used, and look at it long term.
Thank you. And Harry?
So I guess another differentiator for me, I happen to be an expert on this topic. I'm on a board of a STEM nonprofit that serves students from underestimated communities, and I just spoke on a panel on this topic. Try not to get too into the weeds on it, but I mean, essentially, AI has the potential to create a lot of harm to our kids, and actually just physiologically how it can rewire their brain. So we need to be really, really careful on how it's implemented, especially in the elementary and middle school level. I mean, the reality is there's no policy or guidelines in our district today. And so teachers are doing, they're kind of left to figure it out on their own. And so there's different experiences in different classes with different teachers. Full stop, we need a policy, no AI in schools, like starting tomorrow, while we figure out how to incorporate it for benefits. There's probably more uses to allow teachers to offload their workload, but we need to be really careful. There's a huge danger to our children using this stuff.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to closing statements. First, 30 seconds each. First up, Harry.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Again, I bring the parent perspective. My kids are actively in the schools now. If elected, by the time the term is over, I will have 2 daughters attending elementary schools here. I also have a very broad and deep professional experience that I think will help repair community engagement and just provide like a financial and operational rigor. I have a very detailed policy platform, so I can't get it all out today, but please go to my website, Leshner for smmusd.com. Please read my Dem Club questionnaire. It's 24 pages long, so maybe get a glass of wine while you read it.
Okay, Alicia.
Yes, thank you so much. Again, I'm Alicia Mignano, president of the school board. I think there's a lot of work to do still, and I hope to earn your endorsement and your vote. Thank you.
Okay, Stacy.
My name is Stacy Rouse. I have so appreciated the last 4 years of being able to serve. I really want to be able to continue to serve the next 4 years and be that crucial bridge between Malibu and Santa Monica in our Santa Monica Malibu School District. I do think I bring communication and listening and conflict skills that are vital in these times and in these places. I think I've made a positive difference and would continue to do so. I would very much value your endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you. Laurie?
Thank you. We have a very strong district that serves students and families from all kinds of backgrounds, and most of them I would call working families, and we all believe we serve working families. Some have lots of support and resources at home, and others have next to none. I believe my skills, my understanding of the variety of district schools and populations, my values, and my collaborative style will strengthen our school board as it addresses the challenges we face, some of which we've talked about tonight. I understand the issues. I'm an inclusive, thoughtful leader, and I'm committed to fact and research-based decisions in service of the district's mission. Extraordinary achievement for all while simultaneously closing the achievement gap.
Thanks. And finally, Robbie.
Well, thank you for having me. I think our district benefits from a range of perspectives, and I'm committed to engaging with our community to ensure that concerns are heard, listened to, and really considered. In turn, I hope you will consider the benefits that might come from adding someone like me to our school board, a former classroom teacher with experience in the state legislature who also attended our K-12 schools. Thank you for your consideration. I would love to talk to you after, and I'd love to hear what you think we can be doing better in the district and what we should be focusing on going forward. Thank you.
Thank you to all the candidates. We really appreciate it. And if you guys, let's pose for a group photo, all 5 of you with the camera. And then while we're doing this, I'm seeing that all of the candidates who are debating here, I think, are present. So if everybody wants to come up, we can get one big group photo.